Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. I'm sitting Sunday morning, getting a little schoolwork done, enjoying my coffee. I checked my phone. Josh Gattis leaving Michigan for the same job, a lateral move to join the Miami
Lateral. That's like downward. I mean, anybody with a pulse would want Michigan over. Miami's a broken program. It's been broken for 20 years.
So why did he take the job?
It must be because he doesn't think he's getting enough progress at Michigan. It's got to be like I think he thinks he should have a head coaching job right now, right? Like, you would agree with that.
I think he might be a little salty he didn't get the one when Jim's leaving. Like, if Jim's thinking about going to another spot and he didn't get. So I don't know. This is a real head scratcher to me.
It's weird. It doesn't make any sense.
Was primed for just a phenomenal year. Probably JJ starting, some serious weapons in the backfield as well as wide receiver, a good offensive line, and then he goes to a Miami team with a new head coach. Question marks around the offense in general. And it seemed like he was 1 year away, one more good year at Michigan, and he's going to go get a head coaching job at a Virginia Tech type program.
The one thing I will say is he never was killing it at Michigan. I think everybody was kind of like, where's the speed and space? He never really developed that Alabama look where guys were running around, making big plays, being like that. And I mean, the reason we were good this year was because our offensive line was really good. And there were some holes in the Big Ten, especially at Ohio State, where they just weren't tough enough to deal with. But he never made it like that. That speed and space never looked like it was developed at Michigan.
Yeah, and he had it. He had a few really impressive dialed up plays, but I agree. Most of that offense was pretty routine power runs where we were just getting a lot of movement with the good back in Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum. That offense wasn't extremely innovative. And it certainly, this was really the first year he had a good year. I mean, our offense was pitiful. The first two seasons he was there. So maybe I'm overreacting on a Sunday morning. It just seems like now we got to replace our offensive coordinator.
But you're always a sky is falling guy. That's just you. What would have been sky is falling is if Jim left. Then I'd be like, oh God, this is bad. We're going to have to restart this thing.
To put this in context, my brother was saying Josh Gattis would have been our new head coach if Jim left. And now it's not a big deal that he's leaving.
But that was just a continuity thing. You get that, right? It's not like I would rather have Matt Rule as my head coach if I was starting a new program. I'd rather have Bill O'Brien. I'd rather have a lot of guys. And I think Fickle, I think Notre Dame was in the same spot. Kelly left them abruptly and you just wanted the continuity. So it's you pick a less seasoned head coach and there's some really good head coaching candidates out there, but you pick the coach to maintain the progress you have now. I think that's kind of what we would have been in, a very similar spot.
So let's talk about where we're going with both the offense. We'll start with the offense coordinator. We can also talk about Mike McDonald and who we're looking to replace the defensive coordinator role. Where are you looking for the offense? Are you looking to hire within here and keep that continuity that you were talking about?
I mean, I've heard some beat reporters say Mike Hart. I think that'd be I think he's developing into a coach that I think Michigan's going to want to have and possibly end up being a head guy at some point. I mean, Jim's only got maybe 10 years or so. Yeah. And if that can materialize, I think Mike Hart, he's beloved in Michigan. He's kind of risen through the ranks pretty quick. He did a great job at Indiana. He's doing a good job at Michigan. And
yeah, he has it. Just to me, the Mike Hart hire seems like a big step for a young running backs coach. I could see more of a co-OC, the running game coordinator.
I think Matt Weiss, Mike Hart, co-OC makes some sense too, because he's the quarterback coach and he's done a decent job. I feel like this is the best quarterback play we've had. So, I mean,
we have one of the best assistant rooms in the country. We had a bunch of guys come in and just transform, not just the play on the field, but the culture of the team. And so I'm kind
of Sharon. What about Sharon too?
Yeah, Sharon, I think a lot of also a great candidate. There's a lot of guys internally that are good candidates. If you were thinking externally, if we were to bring somebody in, who do you have your eyes on? Or if you do have it.
I have thought zero about an outside OC,
So
especially because this news just hit. So I didn't.
yeah, there's not a lot of time. I heard, and this is like, I know Joe Brady just got signed with the Bills to be a QB's coach.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, that's a big name. That's a big splash name that, I mean, he didn't have much success at the NFL level, but he arguably was like the most impressive offensive coordinator we've seen in the last 10 years at the college level. That's a name that was bouncing around for me. I don't know how that works. If he wants to stay in the NFL, he probably stays with the Bills. Obviously, that's probably the best quarterback coach position you can have, working with Josh Allen. But that'd be a fun one to talk about too, as an external hire.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like probably an internal thing. There's a lot of questions I have about what Gattis just did, because now it's like,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of things I wonder, like, was he like gonna get demoted at Michigan? Was like something coming, and he's fronting news that wasn't gonna be good for him? I don't know. Was he a disgruntled because he thinks he should have a head job and Michigan's holding him back for some reason? It's like a lot of things I think about.
I think it's one of those two, because other than that, it just doesn't make any sense, because this offense was poised to have just another phenomenal year. And then he goes to a Miami team with, again, just a lot of question marks. Like, they got some talented guys there with Tyler Van Dyke.
And the only issue I have is, like, I get that we did have a good year for them at times, but there were also too many games where we were stagnant. We were stagnant at Rutgers, and we're way outmatched, or they're way outmatched. Penn State was very stagnant.
And another we let Washington hang around for a while.
Nebraska was a little stagnant. That was a bad defense. Like, we got it going, but that wasn't offensive, like, coordinator genius. That was just, we started mashing on them a little bit and started. I mean, it was like an okay called game, but still, he's scoring like 6 points in the first half or something, and that was with some like muff
the
punts.
reason I lean hiring within it and just that continuity is because you have so many offensive playmakers that you just don't want to leave the program. Starting with JJ McCarthy, who I just don't think will leave. He seems like a go blue rider. That being said, you don't want to risk that. Donnie Edwards, Blake Corum, Angela Anthony, Cornelius Johnson. You don't want to have any of those younger guys leaving the program, because it's so talented and it seems like such a promising group. So I'm leaning within. Let's talk a little bit about the DC job too. Mike Macdonald, obviously. That's more of a move that makes sense. Like, he came into Michigan, made our defense a lot better, and then gets hired as a DC in the NFL. Like, he deserved it.
He's an NFL guy. I think he wants to be in the NFL.
And you saw that a little bit in rearing its ugly head with the scheme, and when you have so much more time to prepare at the NFL level, it's their job 24/7, 7 days a week to install the defense and get to know it. Michigan struggled a little bit with that, and that's why I was so excited to see that second year of installation, because it seemed like we were kind of still, like, we were late lining up, we were late getting subs in a lot. That being said, who are you looking for at that defense coordinator job, real quick?
That's an interesting one. I mean, Derek Mason would have been, I would have kind of loved. I kind of wish they ended up with him, but obviously he's wherever he is. I don't remember, but yeah, I don't. That's a tough one. I think that makes a little bit more sense to go outside. I think, like, I like Ron Bellamy. I like Clinkscale. I like those coaches have done a really good job at their spots, but they are 1 year on the job guys. Mike Elston, I almost wonder if he was brought in a sort of a possibility to become the DC, because he's been around for forever.
He's been in the game for a long time and has been good at it for a while. There's a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get still like a young, fiery coach, because that's what Jim's clearly kind of set. That's what he wants to do. It worked last year. We're gonna get a young guy who's excited, and we'll see. There's a lot of question marks, and there's been a lot of question marks for the last couple of weeks with this Michigan team, starting with Jim Harbaugh, then Mike Macdonald, and then obviously with this news and Josh Gattis. As long as we keep the talent and like this, it just seems like a special group. We've been saying it. We said it all year this year. We're saying it all year in the offseason. Like this group is special. They play for each other. The culture is just different. The vibe is different. And so I care more about the players than the coaches a little bit. Like it's not about the X's and O's.
Yeah, but what makes you think like guys are going to leave because of Gattis? Like what makes you think he's the reason everyone's at Michigan? Because I think ultimately it's the continuity with Harbaugh. That was like, well, that had me worried.
And Jim, that's what everyone talks about. It's Jim being the player coach. Like he like players love him. As much as he's kind of a weird guy, like players like somehow, I don't know how, but it happens. Like they want to play hard for Jim. And so, yeah, I don't think I really, as a Michigan fan, I hope you don't see that. I don't think we'll see that. And I hope we just come and bring in an OC that maybe wants to just open it up a little bit more. And maybe I get why Gattis didn't, because Cade McNamara is a little bit limited with what he can do. But JJ, I want to see like kind of just a full-fledged like Alabama run and gun offense, because we have the talent to do it.
That's the reason. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to kind of accept this move on like a fan level, obviously.
Yeah.
Because again, I think you're going backwards. Like Gattis is taking a smaller job that people don't like at a program that's dead and has been dead forever. Just like Michigan was frankly dead for a while, and we've kind of got it back going on the right track at least. But I don't know. This like it doesn't sit well with you as a fan. I think it's like
I can't wait till Gattis gets down to Miami and tries to run the offense he ran on Michigan last year, and it just doesn't work. Like Miami, it's just not. That's not their vibe. I don't think.
I mean, the one thing that makes a little sense is Cristobal is not an X's and O's guy. Like I think Jim is more of a likes to be hands-on play calling, and he's probably been that way the whole time. And Cristobal, I think, is very much the opposite. He's more like loves the recruiting, loves being the manager, but I don't think he's a hands-on OC.
I remember a couple of years ago, Jim's always had that problem with like, I got to let the OC do his thing and I got to maybe take a little bit of backseat. Maybe he just never really let that happen.
He might have taken it over this year because it was different and it was back to Jim Harbaugh running hammer and being tough. And that's not how Gattis wanted to be. That's not what he came in to do. And that kind of makes sense that like, okay, maybe he's like, I'll basically just be the offensive guy, and Cristobal won't even look my direction ever. He'll let me. Jim may have stripped him back. Like he watched 2 years of. I mean, last year was so bad on offense and so unacceptable. If they fired Gattis, I don't think it would have gotten a ton of buzz. Like people have been like, "Yeah, that makes sense. He needed to go."
That offense wasn't that different of a team. Like who were like some guys that came in and that were that different? Haskins, Corum, Cade McNamara.
Nobody. It was just essentially subbing Joe Milton for Cade, which.
But Cade got plenty of burn that year too, and the offense wasn't like world beaten.
That's the thing. Like, do you wonder, did Jim take over a little bit and say like, we're gonna do it my way, like we tried your way, and you led us to 2 and 4.
We were calling for Josh Gattis' head. We were calling for Jim's head too. I mean, this is like a coaching staff that we like wanted out 12 months from now. So
yeah, I don't know. That's the way I'll probably rationalize it, because otherwise I'll just be too pissed off and like, Gattis, you turncoat, whatever. Like,
all I know is Miami's on my hate list. I hope they don't make a bowl.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I've never been like a Miami hater, but I've become a huge Miami hater. I hope the whole staff gets removed next year.
They're dead to me. All right, that'll do it for our little emergency podcast. Again, there's some question marks with the Michigan team. I think we'll hear some pretty exciting hires in the near future. Appreciate you guys rocking with the ROC Boys. We'll be back with more regular scheduled NFL draft content soon. Peace.